What if Genesis, the Vedas, and Norse mythology aren't competing stories, but fragments of one forbidden truth humanity was never supposed to forget? What are they really hiding? Why every ancient text starts with the same cosmic secret? Long before anything existed, there was something. Not emptiness, not darkness, something alive, pregnant with infinite possibility, waiting to burst into form. And here's what nobody talks about. Every major spiritual tradition on earth describes this exact same moment. The Tao Te Ching calls it the nameless source of all things. Kabbalah speaks of Ein Sof, the endless divine before creation. Hinduism describes Brahman, pure consciousness without form. Indigenous Australian Dreamtime talks about the eternal now before time began. Even quantum physics stumbled into this, calling it the quantum field, infinite potential before observation collapses it into reality. Think about what this means. Cultures that never met, separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years, all pointing at the same invisible truth. They're describing something so real, so fundamental, that it transcended language, geography, and time itself. This wasn't mythology. This was memory, deep, ancient, coded into human consciousness itself. But here's where it gets dangerous. If these traditions are describing the same cosmic event, then they're also describing the same cosmic force. Christians call it God. Hindus call it Brahman. Sufis call it al-Haq, the ultimate truth. Buddhists refuse to name it at all, calling it Sunyata, the void that contains everything. Different fingers pointing at the same moon. Different words trying to capture what cannot be captured. Now watch what happens next in every single tradition. That formless source decides to create. In Christianity, God speaks and light appears. In Hinduism, Brahman dreams and the universe manifests. In ancient Egypt, Ra emerges from the primordial waters and speaks himself into existence. The Maori tell of Io, the supreme being, using words and breath to create reality. Norse mythology describes how Odin and his brothers shaped the world from the body of Ymir. The pattern is too specific to ignore. Creation isn't random. It's intentional. It's conscious. And every tradition agrees. Something that existed before everything chose to become everything. That formless awareness decided to experience itself through form. And if that's true, then you, every person, every atom, we're not separate from that original consciousness. We're how it experiences itself. And that changes everything about what comes next. What if separation was always meant to be temporary? After the decision to create comes the most crucial moment: division. The Bible says God separated light from darkness, waters above from waters below, land from sea. The Enuma Elish describes Marduk splitting Tiamat's body to form heaven and earth. In Hindu cosmology, the cosmic egg cracks and splits into multiplicity. Chinese philosophy speaks of the Tao dividing into yin and yang, creating all dualities. The Maori gods Ranginui and Papet Nuku, Sky Father and Earth Mother, were torn apart so life could emerge between them. Every creation story is a separation story. Unity breaks into duality. Oneness fractures into many. And here's what makes this absolutely haunting. If creation required separation from source, then existence itself is a form of divine exile. We're not fallen because we sin. We're fallen because we exist. The very act of being an individual consciousness means we're experiencing separation from the whole. But that's not even the deepest part, because every single spiritual path offers a way back. Christianity promises reunion with God through Christ. Islam speaks of returning to Allah's presence. Buddhism teaches that enlightenment is realizing we were never actually separate. Hinduism describes moksha, liberation from the illusion of individuality. Jewish mysticism talks about tikkun olam, repairing the world by reuniting the scattered sparks of divine light. Even modern psychedelic experiences consistently report the same thing: ego death, boundary dissolution, returning to oceanic oneness. The religions aren't contradicting each other. They're describing stages of the same cosmic cycle. Some focus on the separation phase, teaching us how to navigate material existence with meaning. Others focus on the return phase, showing us how to transcend form and merge back into source. But they're all mapping the same territory, the journey from unity to multiplicity and back to unity again. And this is where most people miss it. The conflict between religions isn't about who's right. It's about which part of the cycle they're emphasizing. A Christian focused on salvation and a Buddhist focused on enlightenment are climbing the same mountain from different sides. They'll use different words, different practices, different symbols, but at the summit, they'll meet the same truth. What nobody wants to admit is that your religion might be teaching the exact same thing as the one you've been taught to fear, just in a language you haven't learned to understand yet. How the universe required blood before it could breathe. Here's something that will shake your understanding of everything. Creation myths worldwide don't just describe making something from nothing. They describe making something from sacrifice. Norse mythology tells of Odin hanging himself on the world tree for 9 days to gain cosmic knowledge. Aztec cosmology describes gods throwing themselves into fire to become the sun and moon. In Vedic tradition, Purusha willingly allowed himself to be dismembered so his body parts could form the universe. Christianity centers on Christ's sacrifice for redemption. Even in ancient Sumeria, humanity was created from the blood of a slain god mixed with clay. This pattern appears to consistently across to many cultures to be coincidental. What are they telling us? That creation demands death. That new life requires sacrifice of the old. That transformation cannot happen without something precious being surrendered. The universe itself began with the divine giving, a cosmic loss, a sacred wound that became the womb of all existence. And here's what almost nobody talks about. This isn't just ancient mythology. This is the fundamental structure of reality. Stars sacrifice themselves in supernovas to create heavier elements. Those elements become planets. Planets create conditions where life can emerge. Living things consume other living things. Death feeds life feeds death in an eternal spiral. Your own body is continuously dying and being reborn. Cells sacrificing themselves so you can continue existing. Every breath is a small death. Carbon dioxide exhaled so oxygen can enter. But the most disturbing truth comes now. If the cosmos began with divine sacrifice, then every painful moment in your life isn't punishment or randomness. It's participation in the original pattern. When you lose something you love, when you're forced to let go of who you were to become who you need to be, when you die to old versions of yourself, you're not just experiencing personal tragedy, you're reenacting the sacred structure that began everything. Ancient initiates understood this. That's why mystery schools had death and rebirth rituals. The candidate would symbolically die, descend into darkness, confront their deepest fears, then emerge transformed. Christian baptism is ritual drowning and resurrection. Shamanic initiation involves dismemberment and reconstitution. Vision quests push seekers to the edge of death so they can receive divine vision. If this resonates with something deep inside you, drop the word sacrifice in the comments. Tell me, what are you being called to release so something new can be born? Hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, because what comes next will transform how you see your own story. Why every tradition remembers a home we can't forget. Every major spiritual system on earth shares one haunting feature. They all describe a perfect beginning that was lost. Eden in Abrahamic traditions. The Golden Age in Greek mythology. Satya Yuga in Hinduism, when truth and virtue reigned complete. Buddhist Pure Lands. Indigenous cultures worldwide speak of a time when humans lived in complete harmony with nature and spirit. The Hopi describe previous worlds that existed in balance before corruption. Australian Aboriginal traditions tell of the Dream time when physical and spiritual weren't separate. Different continents, different centuries, different languages, same memory. What did we lose? Was there an actual place, an actual time, when humanity lived in paradise? Or is something deeper being encoded here? What if the lost paradise isn't a location in the past, but a state of consciousness we carry within us? What if Eden isn't somewhere we got expelled from, but something we forgot we still contain? Consider this. Before you develop self-awareness, before you learn the word I, Before you understood yourself as separate from everything else, you existed in a state of undivided consciousness. Infants don't experience separation. They are the world, and the world is them. That's not ignorance. That's the natural state. In every spiritual crisis you've ever had, every moment you've felt disconnected, lonely, purposeless, that's not a personal failing. That's ontological nostalgia. Your soul remembering unity. The fall wasn't a punishment. It was development. The price of individual consciousness is the experience of separation. But here's the revelation that changes everything. Separation was always temporary. It was always meant to be a journey, not a permanent exile. We separated from Source so we could know ourselves, grow, evolve, and then consciously choose to return. That's why every tradition offers a path back. Not back to unconscious unity like an infant, but forward to conscious unity as an awakened being. And you know what's extraordinary? The paths all use the same tools. Love beyond self-interest, compassion without condition, service without expectation, meditation, prayer, surrender. These aren't religious requirements. They're technologies for remembering. They dissolve the illusion of separation and reveal what was always true. You were never actually cut off from Source. You just forgot you were swimming in it. Drop unity in the comments if this awakened something in you. When did you last feel truly connected to something larger than yourself? Like this video, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to remember. Use the word remember when you share it. This isn't just information. This is an invitation to come home.